here on WEEI. You miss any of that? Check it out. Odyssey app, AUDACY. Get it on your phone. It's free. It's easy. Take it with you wherever you go. You can listen to interviews on The Greg Hill Show, Gresham Fourier, or, of course, here on Jones and Mego with Arcand on WEEI. Now, since Milbury appeared yesterday, Jim Montgomery spoke with the media today. He said, we have decided on a goalie for Game 1, but I'm not sharing with you guys.
Ooh, you little tease.
So, look, I don't mind playing that game.
I'll never tell.
I don't mind playing that game. What I don't like in his answer is the word we. Because what Milbury said, I'm fine with. Milbury said, you're the coach. You got to make a choice. That'd be fine. Montgomery said, we've decided. So who's we?
Goalie Bob.
Is it goalie Bob?
It's him and goalie Bob and probably two other people.
No. Is it Marchand? Is it Pasternak? Is it Sweeney? Is it Neely? Is it, again, as you said, goalie Bob? Who's we? Who's we? That's what I want to know. It should be the coach. It should be the coach making the decision. And what I don't want is after Swayman or Ullmark or somebody gets shelled in Game 1 and you go, well, why'd you start that guy? And who are you playing in Game 2? He throws goalie Bob under the bus or whatever, or he hides behind like this we. Talk about collaborative. The Bruins are proof the Patriots shouldn't make a collaborative approach. Everything the Bruins do with goalie is collaborative, and it's stupid. It's goalie Bob, it's Neely, it's Sweeney, it's the players. Maybe it's Jim Montgomery, too. It worked that way with Bruce Cassidy before, too. It was dumb, and it's proof that collaboration doesn't work. At some point, take all the input. Everybody's allowed input and feedback, and you weigh it all, but someone has to make a decision at the end of the day. It should be the head coach. And hiding from it, we've made a decision, that bothers me. It should be Swayman. End of story. It should be Swayman. That should be the guy. He's lined up to play. He's dominated Toronto this year. It should be Swayman. If he plays well, he should get Game 2 as well.
Arcand, is it further proof that Montgomery is worried about what it would mean for a first-round exit or a very early exit, that he's looking at the biggest decision for the playoffs, and it's a we decision? It's not a I've made the decision?
Yeah, I'd say there's something to that, but I also agree with Jones about how the way it was in the past with, with Cassidy and everybody else. Cassidy was a hard ass, and he still was at the whims of Bergeron and Marchand and Tuukka and all those guys, the boys and what they wanted to do, and that was just the way it was. And that's why you have Tuukka Rask out there with his groin separated from the bone trying to play against the Islanders. I mean, that's what happened there.
Can
you
cue the genuine music?
Please. But if that's still going on now, you don't have those same guys. Like, you have Marchand still. He's one of the elder statesmen.
Bergeron and I guess Krejci are gone.
They're gone. Pasternak's still here. I wonder if there's still sort of that same kind of mentality, though, because if that's still kind of lingering, then you could run into that exact same thing.
And this, by the way, might not be Montgomery's fault. Like, you're right. It was the structure with Cassidy. It might have been the structure with Claude, and it might be the structure with Montgomery. That might not be his fault. But and I'm not even really yelling at Montgomery. But, like, that whole collaboration, we're going to make a decision behind closed doors, but it's going to fall on Montgomery, that'd be really unfair to him. If, like, Sweeney or Neely are making the pick, or the players are making the pick, and they have input with Sweeney and Neely, or it's stupid goalie Bob, or whatever, like that would bother me. And so, look, if they lose in round 1, especially to Toronto, Montgomery's out of a job. Especially now that it's Toronto. They never lose to Toronto. And they lose in round 1. He's gone. He's done. And that might not be fair, but that's reality. I just don't like that they're making another collaborative decision. I don't mind that they're not telling us. I'm happy they've made a decision.
Oh, I mind. I want to know.
Well, I want to know, too, but they've made a decision. That's all I care about. It's gamesmanship with Toronto. Toronto hasn't announced their Game 1 goalie either. So, fine. I don't care that you haven't announced it. You've made a decision. I hate the we. We is what I hate.
Well, yeah, and I just go back to, I wonder if this is all part and parcel of him feeling the heat, knowing that his job's on the line with this playoffs performance, really with this series in particular. Because as you said, with Toronto, the only way that it can get worse from last year is that not only do you lose in the first round, but you lose to Toronto. You never lose to Toronto, and that would be an ultimate choke job.
It was a take I hadn't fully thought through. I never thought for a moment they'd be matched up with Toronto, and they might lose to the Maple Leafs, which would mean they miss Bergeron. I'd have to, in that scenario, I would have to admit they miss Patrice Bergeron. But look out if they win. Look out if they beat Toronto without Bergie, and they're just right back doing what they always do.
I got to push back on that just a tiny little bit.
What?
Toronto
he
sucks.
told me this was a shallow take in the Slack chat.
I didn't say that, but
yes,
I do.
You did. Yesterday you said that's a shallow way to look at it.
Wait, which?
I don't think I said
take?
that.
My take
You
or her
did.
take? Whose take are we talking about?
The one that I said about, like, if they lose to Toronto, then that's even worse than last year. you're like, damn, the President's Trophy last year.
I didn't call it shallow, but I do think that there's something to that.
You did say it was shallow.
All right, fine. We'll go back and
what's worse,
check it out here.
Losing with the all-time points record or losing to the Leafs? That's what you're pushing back on?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If it was another situation where you had the best record by far in the points record and all that other stuff and you lost to the Leafs, that stinks. But I'd rather lose to the Leafs than go into the first round with all that momentum and the record and everything and lose to anybody. I think that's worse than losing to the Leafs.
Do you feel any different knowing that Florida went to the Cup final and the Leafs are still the choking-ass Leafs?
No.
Yeah, I do.
It might be worse
because you're still the choking-ass Bruins.
It might be worse to lose to Toronto. I might be with Mego on this.
Hey, I mean, you just said that it's worse to lose to Toronto, but I think coming into it, either way, it's 3 straight years where you're out in the first round, right? So, I mean, when it comes to do they miss Bergeron or not, with him or without him, they're still out in the first round.
Toronto,
but this year they didn't have the President's Trophy.
Toronto, they always beat.
It's true.
They always beat Toronto.
In like 7 games. I mean, it's not like they beat them easily.
By the way, that's not just you. Everyone always beats Toronto. That's
right.
not just you.
I think
that's not just a you thing.
it shows a real regression.
Yeah. Outside of last year, Toronto advanced out of the first round for the first time in almost 20 years last year. So maybe don't let them get hot. Do not let them get hot.
Merci, Patrice.
You can weigh in. I'm going to have to. I really hope the Bruins beat the Leafs, or else I'm going to have to merci Patrice.
I think I'm rooting for the opposite now.
617-779.
Go Toronto.
793.7. You can jump in on the Bruins.